Crashing with Friends Podcast.
Welcome to Crashing with Friends. My name is Kyle Hobbs, your host. This week I have Connor Hobbs on the podcast.
Hey.
Jackson Brandman.
Hello.
And a very special guest. We got Frank, you say is Wattelet?
Wattelet.
Man, this is a very special episode. I wanted to have this man on the podcast since week one. I've been telling these two guys about Frank for 5-6 years,
yeah.
something like that.
Long time.
Yeah.
Well, man, thanks for all you had to do is ask.
I know. I mean, getting
yeah.
the courage to ask is a lot, man.
No worries. No need for any special courage, man. Just ask. But man, thanks for having me.
You're welcome, man. Yeah. So, just a little backstory. I mean, I pulled up a couple little facts. I had your Wikipedia pulled up, but I liked what your card said. Maybe you can tell me what this part means. It says you were a lethal DB, but it says ST player. What's ST player mean? Do you know?
Special teams.
Special teams.
Okay.
Thank you, man. That was bugging me. And the best part of this, a jack of all trades.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't like the most talented, guy. I wasn't the biggest, wasn't the fastest, but I could do a lot of stuff. I played a lot of special teams. In fact, played all the special teams. When I was in high school, I kicked and punted. So I was, like an emergency punter.
Okay, yeah.
And when I was also in high school, I was a quarterback, and I got recruited to college as a quarterback, wishbone quarterback, wishbone
Yeah.
from the old days. And so I think I even completed a pass in the NFL.
Yeah, that's what I saw in your.
It's kind of crazy, man.
Right.
Yeah. It says you completed a pass for 14 yards against the Colts in 1986.
Yeah.
That's more than almost every single person in America can say.
I'm telling you, man. I know it's wild. I had one of my friends was looking up some stuff, and he's like, "Dude, you completed a pass. You ran the ball a couple of times for like."
Yes.
40 yards. So do a little bit of everything, man.
So what it says here, the rest of your card, I'm just going to read the rest of it. It says, first player in Saints history to score a defensive touchdown in consecutive weeks against the Cardinals and the Oilers in 1984.
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those
What a beast.
cool things that happens,
Man.
Yeah, the interception was against Warren Moon.
No joke.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, that's one of the questions I was
That's
going to
big
ask
time.
you, man.
Yeah.
That's big time, bro. Considered one of the Saints' best free agent finds, played for Saints from 81 to 87 and Rams from 87 to 88, starting 78 contests. Is that right, or is there more than that? I think there's...
I think that sounds right. 96, there was something about 96. I might have played like 96 or 98
Oh, it says you played a total of 98 games
something
before
like
ending
that.
your career in 88. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, that's so cool, dude.
Hey, I was very lucky. It was awesome. It was a great experience.
So I want to start at the beginning then. So what got you into football, man? Like,
Well, my dad was a high school football coach. So I think I have pictures of me in the crib with a football. So it was started early on. And back in those days, back in the 1960s, I started playing tackle. I think I played my first tackle football game when I was in third grade.
really? That's cool.
Wow.
So I don't know how old are you when you're in third grade? 7 or 8 years old?
Somewhere around
Something
there,
like
yeah.
that.
Probably 8.
Yeah. And so I played tackle football every year from the age of 8 to 30.
Wow.
A crazy thing Rachel was telling me, my wife, you've never broken a bone?
I really did not have like what you would consider a serious injury. I fractured a thumb one time, but I played like 8 games with it. I just cast it up and played.
Right.
And that was about it. I had a few concussions, because
What
back when I
defensive
played,
player, yeah.
you could use your helmet as a weapon when I played. So.
Yeah.
So you played back in like the gladiator days.
Exactly. I think that's what means in that card when he says lethal, because I usually would pride myself in knocking people out.
Yes.
So
You got to make them fear you a little bit. They see you coming, they kind of think twice a little bit,
Well, yeah, and I especially liked when they were looking back for the ball and you hit them right in the chin. It was bad. It was the game back in the 1980s. It was pretty brutal.
Oh yeah,
Pretty brutal.
Yeah.
It wasn't too long. I remember watching football when all that stuff was still acceptable, and no one cared.
Yeah.
And then I think it was what was it? 2001 or 2002 is when the CTE stuff started coming out or something like that.
somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah, and they started changing the rules, and I think I've had this conversation a lot with people, but I think that's what I get people asking, well, why can't Kansas City do a better job, for example, stopping the other team's offense? And I think it really just stems from the fact that they changed the rules, on how you tackle people, and I think that rule change has been in effect long enough that I don't know if people really know how to tackle. And the other thing is, of course, guys are so much bigger and faster. And you can imagine trying to tackle these guys nowadays. So it's mind-boggling how big and how they can run. This weekend, there are 3 teams that are playing this weekend that have defensive front lines where these guys can. They have sprinter speed. San Francisco, Dallas, and Buffalo's D line is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Jacksonville's D line is going to be. I think that's going to be the key to the game tomorrow for KC. Is can they keep Mahomes up and have time to throw?
So how did you?
So to get back to your question, so I grew up in the household that so I basically, when you're dad's a high school, I was like a vagabond kid, so we moved around a lot, but I was playing football, period.
Nice. Okay. So were you pretty well-known high school player?
Well, I went to high school in a town in Kansas, Abilene, Kansas, which was I don't know, to give it a comparison, maybe it was a community about the size of Carthage, 10 or 12,000 people. So at that time we were what was called a 3A school, and so we were relatively small, but we had some good years. My senior year, I think we went 11-1, and we made it to the district finals, with a chance to go to the quarterfinals, and we got beat. But, I was, I ran track, I played basketball. And so I think from being an overall athlete, I got some recognition and you get the recruiting thing going. And one of the things that I did when I was middle school to the first couple of years of high school, I went to football camps at places like K-State and KU. And so, you get out there where coaches can see you, and then it kind of goes from there.
That makes sense. So what were the main schools that recruited you? Just Kansas or?
Well, KU, K-State. I had contact from Arkansas, Colorado. I'm trying to think. Oklahoma State. So mainly schools in the Midwest.
Nice. Were those meeting, or was that time in your life pretty antsy?
I was so not. I just really didn't know enough to be nervous about it,
right?
Or be uptight about it, and I felt like. The community that I went to high school in was about 45 miles from Manhattan, Kansas. So they were all K-State fans, so there was some pressure, for me to go to K-State. But when when I took my recruiting trip, the coach that they had there at that time was just I just couldn't see, playing for that guy. And at the same time at KU, they had a guy by the name of Nolan Cromwell, who was, he ended up playing in the NFL for a ton of years for the Rams, won a Super Bowl, was like defensive MVP as a safety, but he was a wishbone quarterback at KU in the late 70s. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I was a quarterback and we ran the wishbone, so I got recruited as a quarterback to KU, and so that it just made sense for me to end up going there for college.
So how did you make the transition from quarterback to?
Well, I also played defense in high school. When you're when you're at a small school, you punt, kick, play defense, play offense.
It's like, who's the best person on the team? You're going to do everything for the football squad.
So I get to KU my freshman year, and we got to run scout team for the varsity guys, and honestly, I got the shit kicked out of me playing quarterback, and I'm like, I'm not sure I want to do this. At this level. So we had some guys get hurt in the in the defensive secondary, and they're like, I'm like, I'd like to play defense, please. I switched over to being a defensive back, and that was it. And that was it for my offensive.
I'll do the hitting from now on.
I want to be the hitter, not the hitty. Yes. Yeah, it was literally.
And I bet that's the case with so many defensive players. You know what I'm saying? They get hit a couple times. Like, I like to be on the other side of this.
Yeah. It just was brutal. I'm not going to be an offensive player.
Man, that's so wild.
Were the rules pretty brutal, like for the younger kids too back in the day?
Like, as far as things are probably not that much different than they are, today. As far as, of course, I haven't been to a college, practice for, a long time, so I don't know how. I think things are just, a little bit different from the fact that, they don't. You don't have as much contact and stuff before, in between games.
Okay.
Like when I was at college, man, we were like scrimmaging every day. I mean, it was live, all out.
Pads on.
Yeah, pads on, war. Mm-hmm. And so it's different probably in that perspective.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is, I think kids are, mature so much faster nowadays. I mean, the kids coming out of high school are just, they're like ready to play big time college football, or even, NFL caliber.
Yeah.
Kids when
Some
they come
kids.
out. Yeah. I made my two sons laugh because I pulled out an old high school program, and I was 162 pounds when I was a senior in high school.
Dang. What?
Yeah.
Wow.
My offensive center was 145. What? I was bigger than all my linemen.
Wow.
Yeah. So, that just shows you the difference in the size of kids nowadays. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Nah, I weighed $130 soaking wet in high school.
You could have been the center, Jack.
Yeah. I put on winter clothes and jump into a pole and get out. I weighed $130.
Man.
But you were like blue twisted steel, though, I bet.
I was wiry.
That's what they used to call Jack in high school, blue twisted steel.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Glass jaw, too.
Yeah. Wouldn't spread that rumor.
Nah, okay. But just telling it like it was, man. I was like, I thought I was tough until I got one shot in the jaw, and I was like, oh, it turns out I'm not that tough. So.
Right.
I got a question. You wore number 49 when you went to the NFL, right?
Right.
Did you wear that number a lot, like before then, or?
Actually, that was the only time I did it. I was I think I wore 40 in college. I think I was 16 in high school, something like that. Man, I was a free agent, right? So I didn't get drafted. And, that's the hardest road to get to that, that level. But
Right.
I had my junior year, I had a great year as a junior at KU. And I was safety with a guy by the name of Leroy Irvin, that he was a third-round draft for the Rams and had a long career. So we had a really good defensive backfield at KU. And my senior year, our first game, we went out and played Oregon in Eugene, and I got in a pile and kind of got a leg injury, and it was something that was not serious enough to keep me out, but it really impacted the way I could play. So I didn't have as good a year my senior year. And I think that really contributed to maybe me not having an opportunity to get drafted.
Yeah.
So as a free agent, I was just glad to get a number.
Yeah.
I wasn't
No
care
doubt.
what I didn't care what number they were going to give me. I just wanted a jersey, right?
Yeah.
So ended up with 49.
Right on.
That's really cool. So were the Saints the only ones that called?
Actually, there were about 2 or 3 teams. During the winter, after football was over, the college season ended. Now of course they have the big production, and they have the guys come in and do the
combine
and do all that stuff. Back in my day, it was more of they had something, but it wasn't quite as grand. But they still had a lot of scouts that would come by and work guys out at different times during the winter. And there were teams in and out of Lawrence, for a 4, 5, 6 week period. So I worked out for a few guys. I had some interest from Chicago, and I think I had some conversations with the Jets, and at the time, and interestingly, my senior year in college, when it ended, the Saints fired their whole coaching staff, and they hired Bum Phillips from the Houston Oilers. So Bum was coming into New Orleans, and he actually brought on his staff 2 guys. One was his son, Wade Phillips, and another gentleman that was from Southeast Kansas over. His name was John Levera, and both of those guys coached at KU when I was at KU. So I had some familiarity with the coaches on the staff, and so I think that helped.
I would
Yeah.
say
Have an
so.
opportunity to go down there, and we went to. There was a mini camp in May, so I basically, after the draft was over, Saints called and said, we want to sign you to a free agent contract, and we're going to have a mini camp in May. We'll fly you down, and we'll go from there. And so flew down to New Orleans in May. I think they had 36 defensive backs in camp, and they ended up keeping 6 out of those.
Wow.
36.
It's crazy.
And so I was fortunate enough to be one of the 6.
Man, did you feel like Charlie from Willy Wonka?
I mean, it was like, actually, it was one of those things that, they always, I don't know if you guys have read things about, when you're at training camp and you're getting cut, they knock on the door and open it up, and it's some guy, they'll have a guy say, the coach wants to see you, bring your playbook. And it's like, damn. Not going to make the team. And so it never happened. So I showed up for practice after the final cut. We were getting ready to start the regular season. So I showed up at practice, and I was asking the guy, one of the trainers was like, well, so did I make the team? And he goes, well, you're here, right? So I guess I made the team. So it wasn't like a big party. I was like, I guess I made the team.
That sucks. I mean, that's awesome, but it's like, man, you didn't get all your hard work paid off, son. You're on the team.
Yeah, it was kind of an awkward scenario. So I just went back to my locker, sat down, and just like, okay, hope
Here we go.
Here we go.
It's like the show begins now.
That is so
Yeah,
cool, man.
it's pretty wild. It was pretty wild. It was, yeah. You know, I was fortunate to get a chance to experience it. So,
What was the worst weather you ever had whenever you were playing a game? Can you recall like the worst game you ever?
yeah, there's no doubt. I don't. It was 83 or 84. We played Foxborough, Mass, when we played the Patriots in December, and it was really bizarre. We went out for pregame warm-ups, and the forecast had said that there might be some snow come in, but we were, it seemed like it was for up there December. I mean, it was like 30. I was like, oh, this is all right, man. I could, I'm not think this is going to be too bad today. So then we went to the pregame warm-ups, went into the locker room, and got ready for the, to come out and go through. We came back out. You couldn't even see the press box. It was snowing so hard.
Wow.
I mean, it was a full-on blizzard.
Did it keep that up the whole game?
It kept it up the whole game. In fact, it was so what was weird because it was warm before the temperature started to drop and it started to snow. So for the first half, it was like slush on the field. So if you tackled somebody, it was like ice water, and so you were freezing. And we didn't have Under Armour back in those days. We had white t-shirts.
It wasn't absorbs that wet.
No hobo fires on the sidelines or anything.
No high tech gloves or anything like that. Man, it was so as the game went on, it was brutal. But the best thing about it is that we set the all-time Saints record for fewest passing yards against us in a game.
What was the score of that game?
Patriots threw for 16 yards.
Oh,
that was it. It was 7-0. We lost.
It sounds like one of those super low-scoring games.
Yeah. I mean, it was. Yeah, you at least think if you. And we, of course, we had some. We had some guys on our roster that were from Florida or California, Southern California. They hadn't really experienced cold weather. Man, they were freaking. It was,
I bet, yeah.
Funny, man.
Hope they had some soup waiting for you in the locker room or something.
Oh heck no! We don't have any, and it was rough in those days. Then
They still allow you to smoke in the locker rooms?
in those days, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I mean, the second day after I made the team, I was already freaking out and not knowing how to have interaction with guys that had been in the league a long time. So I'm sitting in my locker, and there's this guy sitting across from me, and his name is Bob Young, I think, and he had been in the league a long time. Played for Bum over in Houston. He came with Bum over to New Orleans, and I never forget this dude. He was just looking at me. It was 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
He's smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Yeah. And he's just sitting there, he's like, and I know he's thinking rookie, you better get your act together, man.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, no, it was. And I was, interestingly enough, that in 1983, Bum signed Kenny Stabler. And of course, I don't know if you guys remember or know anything about Kenny Stabler, but when he played for the Raiders, he was known as quite the, partier and stuff. So
Pretty rambunctious guy.
yeah. So, there was always, having a little drink and.
Yeah.
Something else to go with it, probably.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of crazy stuff. It was an eye opener for a kid from Kansas.
I bet.
I'd imagine.
I bet. It's so great.
What was there any player in the league that just really got under your skin, on the offensive side?
I didn't really, I love the game, and being the son of a coach, we watched a lot of football, and so I felt like I had a good knowledge of the people that that I would actually be playing against. And I just thoroughly enjoyed watching other guys play, and I didn't really have anybody that especially teams in your conference, San Francisco, because I was in the old NFC West. It was San Francisco, the Rams, and the Falcons, and so we would play those guys twice a year, so you get to know them. And I just remember being on the sideline going, man, Jerry Rice, he's pretty good. Joe Montana, he's pretty good. Eric Dickerson, yeah, he's pretty good. So it was just fun to watch those guys, and I don't really have. I think there were probably some guys that didn't really appreciate the way I tried to knock their teeth out, but
Right.
Yeah.
I had a few guys.
How much smack talk was going on the field? Or
Nonstop.
nonstop? What's the craziest thing you've heard?
Oh gosh.
That you can say on a podcast.
Yeah. I will just say that there were no topics that were off limits. And I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I mean, things that that you are politically you can't say nowadays.
It was the 80s, you said?
I'm sorry.
Was it like the 80s back then you were playing?
Yeah. All 1980s.
Oh yeah. So yeah, basically you couldn't say it on TV for the most part, but yeah, on the field it didn't matter.
Well, and I mean the locker room was just trash talking, and and there were just certain words that that certain guys would use, but I couldn't say them,
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Of course.
or I would, yeah.
I think we all know the word.
But it was an interesting dynamic for sure. So, but yeah, lots of trash talking. But I think that it was all in. It went to a certain level, but I think all the guys, you respected the other guys and they respected you. And I don't think that there was, ever a time where, things were malicious or, where somebody was trying to, purposely hurt someone.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I think I would say the way that people, all the players reacted to, DeMar Hamlin with Buffalo recently, I think there's that camaraderie there that,
Of course.
when you're playing, it's like, yeah, we want to kick your butt, but we're all in this thing together, and so that was a cool dynamic for sure.
I was looking into some of your stats, and it seemed like years 3 and 4 seemed to really, you kind of took off. I don't know, just based off stats, I didn't actually get to watch any of the footage, but do you feel like there was a certain year where you really, everything clicked for you, in the NFL, or?
Yeah, I think, I felt like 83 was a really good year. Things were they're just so different now. As you guys know, football now is primarily air it out, let's throw the ball,
right,
and lots of high scoring games. And back when I played, teams were way more run oriented.
Oh yeah.
We didn't have all of the different, different offensive packages with, 5 wide receivers or 4 wide receivers and 1 tight end. Basically back in my day, it was 2 running backs, the tight end, a couple of receivers, and they were running the ball. So our defensive scheme, that Bum Phillips ran, the guy that was playing free safety was very instrumental in run support. So there were quite a few, a couple of years where I was in the top 2 or 3 in tackles on the team just because of the way that, the defensive schemes were. Mm-hmm. And then, Bum left in 85. So from 83 to 84, 85. I think those were pretty good years. And then in 85, Bum left, and the Saints hired Jim Mora, and they brought in a whole different regime, and people were starting to. They were starting to throw the ball a lot more, and
Is Jim Moore the playoffs guy?
yeah,
Playoffs.
yeah, he was.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I played a couple of years for him, 86 and 87, and he was a great coach. They had a great staff, and so later on, when he did that whole thing with the Colts, man, I was cracking up.
I bet.
So funny.
It was like my kids were like, Dad, you know that guy? I was like, yeah, he used to be my coach. So, but yeah. So the problem, with that NFL game is that the older you get, man, it's harder to stay healthy. And I think once I got into years 6, 7, and 8, it was all the collisions started to have an impact, and so I had a little more difficulty in trying staying healthy. I didn't miss any games, but you start when you get up to 30 years old, you probably are going to lose a step. Now I know guys today play, can play longer. It kind of depends on the position, right? Like
they've catered
Brady's
the game to Brady.
Yeah.
I keep having this theory in my head that as soon as Brady is out of the league, they're just going to go right back to the older football a little bit more. It's like, all right, now that the Tom Brady is out of the league, we're going to go right back to the older football, allow more collisions on the quarterback and stuff like that.
I don't know, man.
Look at it. I mean, look at it right now. Everyone's complaining about how quarterbacks are just too
Overprotected.
overprotected in the game.
Yeah, roughing the passer call right now is a joke.
Yeah, I agree.
Because some guys get special treatment.
I mean, how are you supposed to hold your body weight up over a guy as you're tackling him?
Yeah.
No idea.
Without blowing up both of your arms.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, and that's what makes things, so difficult. I think just, that in general, when you're talking about being a defensive player, I mean, you guys or receivers are what they call it, unprotected, or help, whatever, helpless.
Helpless receivers,
defenseless.
Defenseless.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like back in my day, you'd be like, I'm gonna light this guy up.
Pick on him.
Yeah, and nowadays you can't, so I wouldn't even know how to try to come up and hit somebody. And like you say, there were several times where, we ran safety blitzes and I got, came in and blindsided quarterbacks and just, try to tear them in two, So I don't know what it would be like now if I guess you just go up there and try to grab them. It's like wrap them up, hold them up, so you
Push them with all your might. I mean,
yeah, it's insane.
I've seen some flags be thrown of guys tackling a quarterback and having the quarterback land on top of them. And it's like, I mean, there's no body weight at that point. They still get the flag. It's like, what's going on?
It's hard to figure. It really is. I mean, I've been baffled numerous times, trying to figure out why did they call that a penalty? And then, you see Patrick get slung down and, his head's banging off and they don't call anything.
Right.
Do you think the media should start interviewing referees after the game?
Yeah, but that's never going to happen in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys are so protected, and I don't know. Yeah, it's you kind of wonder if it seems like a lot of those guys that referee in the NFL have been doing it a long time. So I'm not sure what the process is to get new, younger guys in there,
right?
So that the game is moving so fast, and you just wonder if some of those guys are just, just don't see things right, or.
Yeah. Did you have any problems with any refs when you were playing?
Not really. I mean, you could you could talk to him. There were some times where, you'd have something happen and you'd be like, what was that? I mean, I remember we were playing Dallas one time and they had a running back named Tony Dorsett.
Yeah.
And, he comes running up, our linebacker hits him and they're kind of going down to the ground. So I come in there and they throw a flag, for late hit. And so, I was looked at the ref. And I'm like, man, you're kidding me, man. That was not a late hit, and so anyway, I was a little frustrated. So not too long after that, they ran kind of a sweep play and Tony was running out. And, Tony always liked to step out of bounds when he got close to the sideline. He didn't like to get hit. So I went in and hit him out of bounds. And I told that ref, and I said, then that's a late hit.
There you go.
Blankety blank. Man, muffer. That was now that's a late hit. Just in case you didn't know.
Did they throw a flag on you on that one?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So you're just trying to give an
That
example.
was one of those where like 4 flags were coming in.
Dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was your coach pissed?
They were just like shaking their head like, what do you, come on, man.
Right.
Hopefully you're winning
Smart.
that game.
Be smart. Yeah. I don't think we did.
Sorry to bring that up there.
We played Dallas a couple of times and, we really had a great defense when I was in New Orleans and, we lost a lot of games, 13-10, 10-7, 17-14. Our offense was just not, the Saints drafted George Rogers my rookie year, and he was a Heisman Trophy winner from South Carolina and great running back. And Bum Phillips, when he was in Houston, had Earl Campbell. So it was basically, we're going to run the football and we're going to run it till you stop us. And when you had Earl, not many teams had luck stopping him. So we brought that offense. So we were very vanilla, on offense. And we had Archie Manning was at the tail end of his career. And so maybe his skill level dropped a little bit, but and then we brought in Kenny Stabler, who was kind of at the end of his career.
Right.
He couldn't move. He had terrible knees. And then they brought in a guy, Richard Todd, from the Jets. So we had kind of a carousel going on at quarterback position. But our defense was really good. I mean, and I think all 4 of the linebackers that were on our defense are Hall of Famers.
Really?
Wow.
Sam Mills, Ricky Jackson, Pat Swilling, Vaughn Johnson. I mean, these guys were all pro guys, and I think Ricky for sure is a Hall of Famer, NFL Hall of Famer. So, we had some guys who could really play.
Wow.
So that's why, we were in games, but we just couldn't score enough to
And
win.
so many NFL teams go through the same problem, man. Just like you got to get a good quarterback, man. So much of it's about the quarterback.
It's key to the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's key to the whole thing.
That's why it sucked watching the Chiefs for so long.
So long.
Unfortunately,
Matt Castle. And
Yeah.
Yada yada yada.
Tyler Thigpen.
Yeah.
I loved Alex Smith, but he just wouldn't throw it deep except for like that 1 year. But then by that time, they basically had said, we're going with Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's just a lot of truth to that. The quarterback is just critical. All the teams that are, still playing right now, they all have tremendous quarterbacks. So,
Are you still in contact with any of your old NFL
there's
buddies?
a few guys that I stay in contact with. As I've gotten older, it's kind of sad, really, but a lot of guys have passed away.
Really?
Yeah. I think at least 2 or 3 of the guys that were in the defensive secondary when I was down there in New Orleans are gone, and a number of other guys that were defensive players. So yeah, it's the Saints have an alumni function down in New Orleans every year, and I've tried to go down, from time to time, and it's nice to rekindle some old friendships and stuff. But it's a very strong clique, and when you're in it, you're in it. But once you're out of it, guys kind of go their own separate ways, and so not a lot of interaction.
What's the big thing you miss about playing?
Oh man, I think it's just running out of that tunnel, and the crowd, and the rush you get from that. I mean, it was.
Oh man, I can only imagine.
I mean, it was insane. Superdome was, unbelievable. From crowd noise and much like Arrowhead. Played at Arrowhead a couple times, and so that was
really.
Oh man, that place is just so loud. It is so loud. It's just it's just such a rush, man. It's just.
Yeah, I've always wondered what it'd be like to be like on the field whenever like the Chiefs like crowd is just going like insane, because everyone's screaming at the field, but I'm always in the stands screaming at the field, so I'm only hearing the people behind me for the most part.
Yeah, I mean it's there were times, I think that's why a lot of teams in they play at places like Arrowhead or playing the Superdome, a lot of times you have to do things, hand signals, and because you can be standing between me and Kyle and yelling at him, and all he'd see is my mouth moving. You can hear anything.
It's like being at a concert, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Metallica.
Yeah. Man, I can only imagine.
I'm still surprised Metallica hasn't played a halftime Super Bowl yet.
They haven't?
I don't think they have.
No.
Wow.
That's like
That'd
the
be
band
pretty
that
sweet.
should be doing it.
I see that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. And it's not that I hate like what they're doing now. I just feel like, man, it'd be nice for them to go back and it's like, okay, let's get a rock band that's a classic rock band like they did with Paul McCartney and all those artists back in the day.
Yeah. But you love Lady Gaga, though.
Oh my God.
And I'm not going to stamp that.
But you're really stoked about Rihanna this year, right?
Not really.
But you were really stoked when Katy Perry was on, right?
Dude, when she was on that lion, that was pretty cool. I'll defend that.
That
was pretty cool.
I'll
giant
defend
lion?
it. Yeah.
She did that lion roar. That was pretty cool. And then you also had the thing with the guys in the shark shoots.
Left shark, man.
There was one
Yeah.
dude that was just not doing anything. It's just like,
He's like, too many edibles.
He had Domo Arigato on his headphones whenever that song's going.
Yeah.
God, sticks.
I got another question. How many touchdowns did you score? Was it just the one, or were there
I had 2.
two? Okay.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Was it special teams and a defensive, or was it both?
on defense? We played the Cardinals in the Superdome, and there was a fumble, and I scooped it and scored with it. And then next week played in Houston, and interception against Warren Moon.
Warren Moon.
And
Was that rush just like amazing, or how did it feel?
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Was it like when Bobby Boucher scores his touchdown?
You probably
Boucher.
was it kind of the fumble? Was it kind of did it just like bounce towards you, or did you have to go get it? And
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things where there's a hit, and the guy fumbles the ball and it's bouncing, and he just scooped it up and scored, and
how far did you have to run?
God, I think that was not. It was about 20 yards, and
20
the
yards?
interception was like 35 or something like that. It was down in the, down in the.
Well, it says on your card here you had 135 yards. What does that mean? What do you think that means? It says yards 135.
You said he ran the ball a couple times.
Oh, okay.
And I think and maybe that has something to do with interception, return yardage, or something like that.
Okay.
Seems like a lot of the interceptions I had, they were like in a crowd, and so I didn't have an opportunity to run. A lot, like in the wide open field, but
12 interceptions is a good amount, man.
And it's, well, like I said, back in those days, teams were primarily run oriented.
Yep.
So there wasn't as many opportunities to, on pass plays. Like I said, I remember games where, teams would throw the ball, 20 or 24 times the whole game. I mean, guys are throwing the ball 24 times and a half now.
Or like Tom Brady last game,
quarter.
66 times.
Yeah. So there was, a lot more opportunities for guys. Mm-hmm. And, but yeah, I mean, it was, I probably had some I should have had more.
Right.
When you first
Stone hands. Drop.
Yes.
When you first got into the NFL and you got that first paycheck from the NFL, did you spend did you make any dumb purchases like when you first got in?
I mean, they didn't pay enough back in those days to have a dumb purchase. I mean, somebody asked me the other day what was the most I made in 1 year, and I said, well, the most I made 1 year, Patrick Mahomes makes in about 2 series.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
That's so crazy.
I mean, very few guys back in those days were making over $1 million.
Right.
I think my rookie contract was maybe 50,000 or something like that.
That's crazy.
So, guys make that a quarter,
Yeah.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Some people pay a fine that's that much, Crazy.
Joey Bosa is about to pay a $40,000 fine for
talking crap.
talking crap on the referees.
Yeah, I saw that, man.
Yeah, that was funny.
he was not a happy camper.
No.
I wouldn't have
No.
been either. It looked like I rewatched some of the highlights for that game, and I saw several times where he was pretty much held, and it was not being called.
Threw that helmet down, and then his coach walked over, picked it up, gave it back to him. He's like, I don't want that helmet.
Coach was trying to get the helmet picked up, hoping the referees didn't see it, because that's like an automatic unsportsmanlike,
Yep.
I'm surprised they didn't throw 2 on him and kick him out. I mean,
Cost him the
he
game.
threw twice. It did kind of cost him the game, I think.
Yep.
So, yeah.
But also, that was the first time I've ever seen an NFL referee go and chase someone down, get in their face, and be like, "What did you just say? Say it again. Say it again." And just kept telling him to say it again. And I don't know what Joey Bosa said, but I think he said it again. And he's just like, "All right, throw him the flag."
Wow.
So,
Yeah, man. There's a line, dude. You don't want to cross that line with the refs.
Right.
to be honest, he probably could have just said, he's like, "You're not calling holding," or something like that. He probably says, "You're cheating us. You're not calling holding." And he was like,
Right.
"Flag."
Well, I think you guys all know watching the games that, as much as we try to, malign the referees, it is that they could call, pass interference on every play.
Every play.
Right.
Call holding on every single
defensive
play.
holding on every play, offensive holding, and so you just got to kind of. And I don't know how they do it, honestly.
Right.
Like if it's super obvious, you got to call it. Usually,
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily this year, but in the past couple of years, we watching the Chiefs. It seemed like their cornerbacks. I mean,
Constant.
they were grabbing guys every play.
Yeah.
It was just defensive holding call. And man, it's just, it's hard to get people stopped when, you're having penalties every play.
Yep.
Did you have any tricks that you would trick the referees with, as far as like holding calls, stuff like that? Is there anything you had that you?
I didn't really. I mean, I didn't really. You know, I don't know if the guys just didn't think about it. I mean, I think that, you know, like linemen, you know, because they've got their close contact, you know, they would tape their jerseys down, you know, and so that people couldn't grab them. And, you know, I think the coaches would try to teach them techniques on how to, you know, like grab somebody and not be seen. But, you know, when you're in the second, you know, defensive backs, I mean, it's hard to, I mean, if you grab somebody, they're going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw you played a couple games Monday Night Football, right?
Yeah, I played a couple. I think played the Steelers on Monday night. I think we played the Jets too.
Really?
Yeah, that
That's
was
big time, man.
That was cool. That was cool. Man, they had I think it was Howard Cosell, O.J. Simpson were the, you know.
Juice is loose.
Yeah, Juice was loose. I think they were doing the commentator stuff, Frank Gifford, and you know, so you could talk to those guys, you know, in the days leading up to the game and stuff. That
That's
was kinda
so cool.
So yeah, it was. The lights were a little brighter on Monday nights.
Yes.
You think you did it? I'm sorry, I gotta ask.
I think I did it, as in.
O.J. Simpson.
No, think he did it.
You think he did it?
You think you did it? I think so. Honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
I think he did it.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Got away.
That's the headline of this podcast.
I mean,
see. We're gonna play a game in a little bit, and I saw his name on part of this game I was setting up, and I was thinking in my head, should I ask Frank that question? And then you straight up did it just now.
Well, you know me, man. You don't even have to question yourself, because, like, you know what Jackson's gonna ask. Jackson doesn't have that thing in his head that's gonna stop him from doing it.
Right.
well, that whole thing was, was interesting. And, you know, that part where he was trying to put that glove on, I was like, come on, dude, just slip it on. You know,
Yeah.
He was like, it was such a difficult thing to try and do. And that ended up being the thing that probably, you know.
Yeah, if they wouldn't have asked him to put it on, he probably would have gotten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the glove is so small, you know?
I've honestly never seen the scene of him trying to put it on.
Oh, yeah.
So.
If the glove does not fit, you must quit.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. And I don't. It's just my own personal opinion. You know, when we were watching that whole thing unfold, you know, it was like, I kind of think he probably did.
But I bet he knew he was going to have to put that glove on. And he just went to a bee farm beforehand. And it was like, all right, I'm going to stick my hand right in here. Yeah. Right into this beehive, get a couple bee stings. It ain't going to fit now.
I have another quick question. Correct me if I'm wrong, was the player strike in 82?
Had one in 82, and then there was a brief one in 87.
What was it like going through those?
Well, you know, back in those days, the NFLPA, the Players Association, we were at a real inflection point with management and the whole thing about free agency and that, you know, and pay. And I think, you know, 82 was the start of it, 87 kind of, so that kind of got the ball rolling. And so there's like a demarcation line. Like once free agency started in 1993, you know, there's the post 93 guys and then there's the pre 93 guys. And so that's where the huge discrepancy in the amount of money that people get paid post 93 than what, you know, when we got in it as pre 93 guys. And it not only stretched, you know, not only it was in terms of money, player contracts, but also benefits and stuff. So over the years, the NFLPA, in their negotiations, when we've had collective bargaining agreements, they've really tried to go out and do some things for the guys that went through the strikes, and guys lost their jobs, and,
Right.
and I think that's actually how I ended up going to LA, because in '87 when we went on strike, the Saints ended up releasing a bunch of guys that were older guys, and I was one of the guys that got released. I got picked up by the Rams and played the rest of that season with LA, but we went to bat and got the ball rolling for for the guys that are playing nowadays. And so yeah, that strike stuff was very interesting, man. We were had picket lines, and we were walking out there with carrying signs and stuff, and not every guy that was a union player. There were guys that crossed the line and went in and
Scabs.
Scab.
Yeah,
and it created some animosity and stuff at the time. The guys were getting called scabs and a lot of other things too. So, but yeah, it was an interesting time. And
Because you got to make bigger companies care about your health, especially when they don't have to. I'm sure you guys
Exactly
didn't have
right.
you probably didn't have great health insurance back then.
I mean, as long as you're on the team,
Oh,
but
true.
once you're gone, and there wasn't a whole lot of, post
bucket dried up.
benefits,
Right.
but the guys nowadays, man, it's unreal what what current players have as far as benefits go.
They earn it.
Pretty well, and rightfully so. The NFL's what, $14 billion industry.
insane.
They got the money.
It's nuts.
Especially when you see how much the Cowboys are worth. They're
Yeah.
worth the most out of any team. Like the
Yeah.
whole world. It's like, what the hell, dude? Yeah.
The game's so insanely popular. I heard something the
Yeah.
other day where they were saying that in 2022, out of the 100 highest rated broadcast program TV, 84 of them were NFL games. And then there were like 5 or 6 college games. And then the rest of them was like, news or, politics or something, like really important stuff.
Like a debate or something.
Yeah. And so it's incredible the amount of money that, that the NFL generates.
Those advertisements this guys want in, man, like so insane.
Yeah. Yeah, they have. It's amazing. But I will say that the NFL players union and the current players have really stepped up and gone to bat for us older guys, and our benefits have improved significantly. Our pension is dramatically improved, and they've done some other things that have really helped out. So it's much appreciated.
It's good that they didn't forget about you guys.
Yeah. For sure.
It's a foundation, man.
Yeah, I mean, we were the one, as with anything, there's always a group that, lays the foundation, and makes the sacrifice, and, for the benefit of those that come behind them. So, yeah, it was, things are pretty good right now.
Awesome. Do you have a question, Jack? Keep looking at me.
No, I don't got a question for you.
I had a question for you, man. You spoke about it earlier. Did it feel like you were a modern day gladiator out there whenever you were playing football, and all those fans and those lights? Like, what did it feel like, man?
No, I mean, I think it was just like a huge adrenaline rush. And I think that game, it's a violent game, right? And so, I think I guess in a sense you could probably say, the harder the hit, or the people getting carried on, the more the fans were like into it. So it would kind of, almost equate to something like, a gladiator, mentality. So, yeah, it was, violence. Legalized violence.
And that's the title of the podcast.
Yeah. Well, and interestingly, is that once you retire, for so many years, man, you were out there, you were playing, you were able to take out all your frustrations and stuff. Then when you lost that, guys having anger management control stuff, was a issue for guys that had retired guys and.
So what was your mindset when you left the game?
Well, I think I was ready. I was ready to get on with whatever was. I was happy I was able to get out of it without having any serious injuries, and I was very fortunate to play. So, if I'd have played, 3 years less or 3 years more, I don't know if that would have changed a whole lot, but I was ready. I was ready to get on. I think my mindset was, there's no way you can play this game forever, so you might as well, get out while you're in good shape and move on and get on to the next stage.
Was that transition pretty easy for you then?
I would, yeah. I wouldn't say it was easy. You just, like I said, there's just that, the camaraderie of the locker room. You miss.
That's what you hear the most from a lot of people is just missing that locker room.
Missing the locker room. You just, like I said, you're in that clique. When you're in it, you're in it. And
Brotherhood.
Yeah. And, and then having the, having an avenue, an outlet for, frustrations that, maybe you were having in the other part of your life that, that you could go out there and take it out on somebody. And,
Saving it for Sunday.
Saving it for Sunday, man.
Spilled coffee on a brand new white shirt. Oh, this Sunday. That person is getting it.
Eric Dickerson's going to get it this week.
Walter Payton's going to he's going to get lit up.
Man, you played with Walter during the time of Walter Payton?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Man.
Yeah, we played him a couple times.
Man of the year right there, man.
He was awesome. We went up to Lake Forest, Illinois, one training camp and scrimmaged the Bears for 3 or 4 days because we were getting ready. We had a preseason game against them, so we just went up there and scrimmaged. He's an awesome guy. He was an awesome guy, man. Soft spoken, a lot of just really a cool dude, and one of the greatest guys to ever play the game, man. It was awesome to get to know him.
So with that example, was there any other guys you played against that you're just like starstruck, like I can't believe I'm playing against this dude right now?
Oh, there were some guys that were just, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Dickerson, all these guys were ended up being, I think my rookie year we played the Steelers on Monday night. I was walking across the Superdome pre-game, and Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris, were out there like just tossing the ball, the ball around, and so I was like, I went over there and talked to him and stuff.
Well, yeah,
and got to.
So it was really cool.
Man, that's so cool.
Yeah. And like I said, you get to know guys a little bit because you did play them so often.
And didn't Frank just die not too like a couple?
Yeah, Franco Harris just passed away.
Yeah, like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Man.
So one of the really funny things that maybe people don't really. Back in those days, they didn't see it. Number one, because there wasn't as many TV cameras,
right.
Like now you can see every detail, of the game. But we were playing San Francisco, and you know, as a defensive back, you always try to disguise your coverages and stuff. And, you know, and Joe Montana was just, you know, I mean, he's just was so smart. And, you know, he'd seen every kind of defense that, you know, you could throw at a guy. And so we're doing all this moving around shit. And so he's looking around, calling out signals. And then he just looked at me and winked.
Oh my God.
Winked. Like, oh, shit. He knows what we're in. He knows what defense we're going to play. And so, yeah, man, that was.
I bet your heart sank in your chest,
I mean,
dude.
you just like, okay, well.
I'm about to get cooked. So
And that's
cool.
what made him so good, you know, because he would know, you know, there's always a weakness to every defense, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, when he'd take the snap, he'd go back and he would look to see if, you know, if he could make a big play to Jerry Rice or John Taylor or Freddie Solomon. And if it wasn't there, well, he knew where the outlet guy was, you know, and there was always somebody open, and that's, you know, and then he'd move the ball down the field, and it was very frustrating from a defensive perspective because it was just tough to get him stopped.
You had to play him twice a year, right?
Twice a year.
Yeah.
And we beat him a few times. We beat him out there a couple of times, and I think we beat him in the Superdome once, so.
And it was called the Caesar Superdome back then, right? Or was it the Tulane Stadium? Like, where'd you play
It
it?
was in the Superdome.
Okay.
I mean, they just called it the Superdome. I don't know if they
That was back in the day when the stadiums
No
would actually
naming rights.
be called the stadium.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the Mercedes one that they have now, right? Because that.
It was, I think it was at one time the Mercedes Superdome, but now it's something else. Yeah.
Oh, so you actually played at the one that's currently there. The Saints playing now?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they built that, I think, in 1968. I think the Saints have played there every year.
Really? Okay.
Did you like live primarily in New Orleans whenever you're playing?
Yeah.
Did you like living there?
I did. I liked New Orleans. It was, you know, back in those days, it was, you know, things were less, you know, dangerous, I would say. You know, maybe. I don't know how to say it.
A little less Mardi Gras action back then.
Yeah, I mean, like people were like, you know, more respectful of other people, and so, and the thing about Louisiana, you know, people are just football nut crazy. They, you know, they just LSU.
Oh, it's in the blood.
You know, they just,
Yeah.
You know, you're a football fan. If you're a Louisiana, you know, you're born and raised, you love football. And so the Saints fans were just unbelievably awesome. And, you know, when the Saints first came into being in 1968, they, you know, they didn't have a whole lot of success. You know, I think at one time right before I got there, I think they were called the Aints.
Yeah, I remember
Right.
seeing that.
And, but, you know, those fans supported that team through, you know, the good times and the bad times. And so living down there was great. I mean, you know, just people were just, you know, they were just, you know, if you played for the Saints, they loved you, you know. And so we really enjoyed our time down there.
So walking around town, were you guys like big time, or would you walk around with your jersey on, or were you recognizable?
Yeah, typically you wouldn't walk around with your jersey on, but you know, I think, yeah, I mean, you know, I think there was a certain amount of people that would, you know, if they were diehard fans, they would recognize people. You know, I think there were times that we would go out to eat, and you know, someone might come up and ask for an autograph or something like that. But you know, obviously, it depended on, you know, who you know, what player you were, you know.
Right.
So some guys are more popular than, you know, just because of position or whatever.
Right.
So, but yeah, man, New Orleans was great. We really enjoyed our time there. But, you know, when we got ready to, you know, I met my wife, actually after my rookie year. I was up here in Joplin, you know, during the off season, and met my the lady that I have been married to now for 39 years. And so when we were, knew that I was getting at the end of my career, we were trying to figure out whether we wanted to, live in New Orleans. I was out in LA at the time. So we had a place in New Orleans, we were in LA, cause I was playing for the Rams, and we just had, we had one, our first oldest son was born in like 1986. So he was, less, about a year old. So we tried, we just like, well, where do we want to live? Where we want to try and raise a family. And so my mom, folks were here in Joplin. My wife's folks were in Carthage. So we decided to move back here. So that's how we ended up here.
Right on.
Wow.
Now, I will say this, though. We took we would go to New Orleans, go to the alumni functions and stuff. And every once in a while, we've taken our kids down there a lot. And as the boys got older, they were like, why did you move?
Should have raised us here.
I love it down here.
Yeah, man. I can only imagine.
So, yeah.
Yeah, my dad would tell me all the times about it. He's like, yeah, we used to live on a lake house, and then we moved into Neosho. And I was like, why'd you leave the lake?
What? What are you doing? What was the best food you ate up there in New Orleans?
Oh, man. Crawfish étouffée for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my favorite. But I like seafood, and, there was where we lived in Kenner, which is kind of the little suburb furthest west from New Orleans. There was New Orleans, then Metairie and Kenner. And so the practice facility was in Metairie for the Saints. And in between the practice facility and our condo, they had there was fresh fish markets and stuff. So you'd go in there and you'd grab, redfish fillets or speckled trout. It was just like a daily thing.
Oh, my mouth is
awesome.
watering, dude. Holy shit. Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was, the food was unreal.
Now, one thing I've heard about New Orleans is the smell. Was there a smell back then? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. French Quarter is, we had a lot of fun down there, but it's nasty. It's just straight up nasty. There's no way to you can't sugarcoat that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've yet to go to a big city and not think like, man, there's a funky smell. Like Kansas City is honestly not that bad. It's pretty widespread, but you go into St. Louis, smells awful.
Yeah.
The regulars don't go down to the French Quarter, right? But all the tourists do. So, when I was a rookie, like my mom and dad, I wanted to show them, the big city of New Orleans and stuff. So we went down to the French Quarter, man. They were like, what's that? What's that smell? Tried to explain, that anything goes down there in the French Quarter. So, so I kind of stopped with, taking people who had not been to New Orleans, kind of taking them to the French Quarter first thing. You're going to break them in slow, right?
Gosh.
So that was a good question, though. Yeah, it's legit.
Yeah. I can only imagine, man. That's so awesome. Do you guys have any more questions for Frank?
Oh man, I'm trying to rack my brain right now.
Oh man, I appreciate you guys having me out. I mean, rehashing all these old stories. I'm sure, it's kind of. I'm an old guy now. It's kind of boring, but.
Oh man, I was telling these guys before, every time that I've got to pick your brain was one of the best afternoons. Of my life,
man,
dude.
well I appreciate that.
I've got a game for you, Frank.
A game, all right.
Okay. This is not really for the dudes. This is just mainly for you. I just want to test your knowledge.
Oh. You remember I had a lot of concussions.
I know. So let's in your era, so
the 80s, but 70s, 80s, and 90s, there was nicknames were abundant. Everybody had a nickname. All the best players had nicknames. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
So this
I'd
is
agree with that.
So this is the nickname game, okay?
Okay.
See how many of these you can get right.
All right.
Okay. What did they call hockey legend Gordie Howe?
Hockey.
Yeah, I'm throwing on
He's a
hockey,
football player.
basketball, and football.
Hockey.
I'm throwing all three in here, dude.
Oh, Kyle.
Dude, man, I have no idea. I never watched hockey.
Okay, that's one down, Frank.
He's like
It's a
Gretzky
striking
is like
game.
the one player he can name.
Right.
Just like probably I could like.
Well,
10
Gordie
years
Howe
ago,
is
so.
Mr. Hockey.
Okay.
Hockey.
Okay.
Wow.
What did they call Walter Payton?
Sweetness.
I knew you'd get that one. What did they call Mike Tyson?
Oh, God.
Man, I know this one.
This is a Frank game, Jackson.
I know it's a
played enough
Frank
games
game.
with you.
I know it's a Frank game.
Man, I don't know, man.
Iron Mike.
Yep, Iron Mike Tyson.
Mike.
Okay.
What did they call?
No, wait a minute now. They used to call Ditka that too. Iron Mike, didn't they?
Oh,
Mike
really?
Ditka?
I have no idea.
Oh.
Coach
I never
of the
knew that
Bears?
one.
Yeah.
I think they did, maybe. We'll have to research that.
Okay. What was Joe Montana's nickname?
Joe Cool.
There you go. What was Wayne Gretzky's nickname?
Hell, I have no
I
idea.
mean, he has many. He's like Babe Ruth with many
The main
nicknames.
one is the great one.
Great one.
There you go. You got it. Okay. What did they call Julius Erving?
Dr. J.
All right. What did they call Kenny Smith from the Houston Rockets?
Jet.
Okay. What do they call Reggie Jackson?
Mr. October.
Okay. What do they call Clyde Drexler?
Clyde the Glide or
Boom.
something like that.
Oh.
What do they call Pete Maravich?
Pistol.
There you
Yeah.
go, man. You're rocking it, Frank. I knew you would. What do they call the boxer Ray Leonard? You were about to say it.
Sugar.
There you go,
Sugar
man.
Ray.
What do they call Hakeem Olajuwon?
God damn, I know it.
Of course you do. You got this, Frank.
Dang, I can't think of it.
He had a famous move that was called this as well. Oh, you're about to say it?
It's not the Dream, is it?
Boom, you got it.
All right.
What do they call Gary Payton?
Gary Payton. NBA guy, right?
Yep.
Man, I do. Did he play for the Sonics?
Yep.
Man, I can't.
The glove.
With the
That's right,
glove.
defensive, yeah.
Yep.
He was outstanding. Defensive.
What do they call Karl Malone?
Mailman?
Boom. What do they call Jerome Bettis?
The bus.
Okay. What do they call Pete Rose?
Oh God. God dang it! I know
This one,
It's
I'm
what he's
struggling
kno-
to come with this one
It's what
too.
he's known for.
God.
I can tell it's on the tip of your tongue, dude. I can tell. Huh?
Is it,
I can't
is
think
it
of
gambling?
Okay, that's what he's known for.
Mr. Hustle.
There you go, Charlie Hustle. You
Charlie
got-
Hustle. Yeah, Charlie Hustle. Okay. Wow.
Famous pitcher, Randy Johnson.
Man.
I've always wanted a Randy
Big,
Johnson jersey.
tall dude, man.
You're close.
He was
You're close.
6'10".
You're close. You got first part of it right.
Man. I never was a big baseball guy, though.
The big unit.
Big unit, yeah.
You're close, man.
Dang
Big
it.
unit.
What a nickname to have.
What a nickname. Next one. Deion Sanders.
Prime time.
Prime time. Okay, this one. Brian Bosworth.
The Boz.
The boss.
The boss.
The Boz.
All right, two more.
Hold on.
His-
Arguably might be my 30 for favorite 30 for 30 episode is.
Oh,
about
dude,
the
that's
boss.
such a good 30 for 30. It's so sad towards the end,
I mean,
especially when he's showing his kids the photos and stuff in the storage unit. Yeah, one of my favorites.
yeah, that was awesome.
This one, I'm going to give you the nickname, and you tell me who it is, okay? His Airness.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. And then one more. The Black Mamba.
That's Kobe.
Kobe! All right.
Wow.
He's better than I thought I was going to do.
Dude, you rocked it. I
That
think
was
you only
insane.
missed 2.
I
You
wouldn't
did
have
better
gotten.
than I did.
I
For
told
sure.
you.
That's a big unit.
This guy's a legend, guys. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Dude, I didn't even know half of those.
Exactly. I knew this guy would get them all. All right. I think you only missed 2, man. Like 2 or 3.
Like, I didn't get the big unit.
Surprised
get-
you missed Iron Mike Tyson there.
You didn't
Yeah,
get
I
Mike
didn't-
Tyson,
Yeah, that was.
and you didn't get Gordie Howe,
Yeah, the hockey.
and you didn't
the
get
boxing.
Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, the hockey got me.
Yeah,
The rest of them, dude.
pretty good.
17 for 21?
Mike. Iron Mike.
Yeah, man, that's pretty good stuff, dude. Okay, this is just a fun one right here.
Sledgehammer.
So Jackson alluded to it a second ago. Babe Ruth had the most nicknames. Can you guys name any of them? I know you guys are gonna name the ones from Sandlot. Those are the obvious ones. Can you name any other ones from Sandlot, or any other ones for Babe Ruth?
Outside of what?
Or name
is
the
on
ones.
Sandlot?
Name the ones you think you know for Babe Ruth.
What?
I'm trying to think of the ones.
Bambi?
Out,
Okay, the
great Bambi. The great Bambi.
That's from Sandlot. The Great Bambi. That's from Sandlot. I love that.
Great Bambino. Salt in the SWAT.
Okay.
Salt and the SWAT. That's good.
Colossus of Clout.
Class the Clout.
I'm just trying to think of the ones that are named off of Sandlot, to be honest.
Okay, so you pretty much got all the ones from Sandlot. So I'm going to read them off here. The Mauling Menace, Mastodon, the Monarch. The Sachem of Slug. The Prince of Pounders. The Wizard of Whack. The Wally of Wallop. Blunderbuss. The Behemoth of Bust. The Raja of Rap. The Maharaja of Mash. The Wazir of Wham.
They had a certain style back then.
Modern Beowulf. That's the one that got me.
That's a good one.
Modern Beowulf. That's awesome.
I'm surprised. They knew what Beowulf was back then?
Beowulf is an old book,
Man.
dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, concussions or not, I would not have gotten any of those.
No,
dude,
no way.
Herman the Great. The Big Bam. Jidge. Jidge.
Jidge.
Jidge. I'm just call you Jidge.
What was that one? The Great Herm?
Yeah.
Why?
Herman the Great.
Herman the Great? Why?
I don't know. Oh, I think his middle name is Babe Herman Ruth.
Oh,
so.
okay.
All right.
I'll have to take your word for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe you.
The King of Swing, Titan of Terror, King of Crash, Colossus of Clout, Sultan of SWAT, Babe, the Great Bambino.
Nice.
All right.
That's pretty impressive.
Good.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
A lot of nicknames.
Yeah. Well, Frank, that's it, man.
Man, appreciate you guys asking me to be here. Awesome.
Dude, if you would mind coming back someday,
Hey, anytime. Ask me.
I would love for you to come on right before NFL season comes on, just to give a little primer. What do you think about the
Yeah.
season coming up?
yeah.
Ooh,
let's
that'd
do
be
it.
fun.
That would be really fun.
Yeah.
Let's
do it, man. We can
Get a
rock that,
professional
man.
telling us what's really going on. Like, yeah.
Cool.
Maybe get some betting lines.
At least that way. At least that way we can have people on the show that are like, have never played the game in their life trying to act like, you should have done that. You know?
Oh, man.
Yeah, man, I hear you.
Frank, before we leave, do you have any questions for us or anything?
Nothing I can think of.
Like how
I
we
think
got
you guys
so
are
good
like,
looking,
yeah, I
stuff
mean,
like
like, you guys are like cool.
Thanks.
Appreciate
man.
that.
Heck yeah,
That's
dude.
awesome.
From a pro.
I guess I'm gonna have to, like I told Rachel, I'm gonna have to subscribe.
I love it, man.
Ooh.
Love it.
Hit that button.
Hit that button. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I told somebody, I said, just ring that bell or what, like in my day, that was like knocking somebody out.
Exactly.
It's a whole new thing, man, with the that reminder bell, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Well, guys, that's been episode 71 of Crashing with Friends. Once again, Frank, thank you for being on here, man.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
And we'll see you guys all next week.
Bye.
Sounds
Peace.
good. Later.
Crashing with Friends.
Podcast.